hello. My name is Joe Jones, and I'm the host today on the Donna Thorne Special. The thing I like to talk about today is the Los Angeles riots, aside from the show's usual format. Like I said, I don't want to give my personal views on the riot today because they're not important. What is important are the guests that I have here today, and they're going to give their views because they've been through it before. We have Doris Jones, Garfield, I didn't get the last name, and I'm going to let you guys explain yourself and your last names as we go down the line. Basically, let's start with you, Garfield, since you are the man. And the thing of it is what do you feel, and what is your position in the community, and what do you feel about what's going on and what's happening in Los Angeles and other places today?
Well, basically, I am Los Angeles. I was born in Watts. My father was born in Watts, and I have a real strong feeling about the community. But what we've seen over the years is a continuation of a hold down and a despair. And the people get mad, they get mad, they try to do the best they can, and they're held back. So all of the little cliches and the organizations that try to do the things to the people haven't worked. And you reach a point where you just, what we call short circuit fail-safe, and just strike out. And I've seen it happen. I was part of the '65 riots. And I have a real strong feeling about what has just happened, and it's the same thing.
Right. Well, what part did you play in the '65 riot? The reason I'm asking you this question is just to see if there was a maturity stage in your life. I mean, were you looting in '65 or out a part of the riot, or were you in the house? I would assume that you're doing these days under curfew or whatever.
At the time of the '65 riots, I was 19, and my basic part of the riots was hiding.
Okay.
Because bullets was flying and cars was coming down the streets and the jeeps were coming in and the machine guns.
Okay.
Being from that particular city and the type of family that I had, I didn't have that despair because it was part of existence. We lived it.
Right.
From the outside you can look in and see different things, but when you're living it, you don't realize how bad it is until you step out. As now I live in the valley, I can look back and say, it's a shame that we had to live like that, and I can get mad after the fact.
Right.
You know, and the way that you fight back is what we're doing now, trying to get a general feeling, a consensus of an idea that it has to get better. We have to find a better way.
Exactly. That's one way that I feel. Let's move along to the next person and find out what's your name and your position in the community, and what do you feel about what's happening in Los Angeles today?
My name is Carol Hickerson.
Okay.
And I was pregnant. I lived in South Central, and I was 8 months pregnant when the '65 riot broke out. And where I lived, they had militia on every corner, and it was scary. It was scary. I have a daughter now that has a child, and we talked about it. She was shocked. I mean, she was like, "Mom, tell me what happened." So what I think is that a lot of the education that needed to have been told our young people, which a lot of the young teenagers weren't really there in the '65, but I think the education is the main thing, and that people need to know what is possible and what can happen.
Do you see a difference in that particular riot or in what's going on today, or is it just the same old thing?
Definite difference.
Okay.
This riot was worse. The '65 riot was regional. It was in a small area.
Right.
And this one just, I mean, I knew it was coming. I can say I honestly knew it was coming.
That's too bad.
And yeah, it's a feeling of despair, as Garfield said. It's just a bad feeling. And
True.
all the things that I'd like to say, I can't, really say. We don't have enough time.
Right.
Get into it.
That's true. That's true. We don't have enough time. Yeah. We're gonna move right on down the line, and this is Xennia.
Yes, I wasn't in the Watts riot or around for the Watts riot, but I was in Plainfield, New Jersey, and we had riots very soon after those riots. And my husband at the time was a policeman, a new policeman on the force, and had gone out to protect everyone from the riots. And I had double feelings. I wrote, which I happened to write a play about, because I had in my house at the time visiting friends who happened to be white, and visiting friends who happened to be black, and we were stuck in the house for 3 days. We ended up having a riot of of some sort of our own in the house. But I see a big difference between the riot today and what happened then. Then it was contained. It was one nationality, more or less, and in one contained area. I see now that it's joined by a lot of different minorities and people who are not minorities, and it looks like a people's riot. It looks more like
okay. I don't mean to cut you off, but like we run out of time. We're going to come back to this topic. But right now, I want you guys to check out this. Something for you to look at.
Sea of blue. Alabama fine is in blue. And when we got into hearing distance, Major John Cloud, he said on a bullhorn,
"To be detrimental to your safety to continue this march, and I'm saying that this is an unlawful assembly. You are to disperse. You are ordered to disperse, go home, or go to your church. This march will not continue." Troopers here advance toward the group. See that they disperse.
I knew that we were facing death. I knew we had 700 people with us, about 600 women and children. And I could keep thinking about history writing how many children and how many women that Jose and John had led to their death.
Motions had built up, the troopers had been called back and forth so many times, they were ready. And it had to happen. It was inevitable, I think.
And I defined March the 7th, Sunday, 1965, as the Black Holocaust.
March 7th also became known as Bloody Sunday. Though no one was killed, scores were injured, and the entire nation was outraged more than it was over the violence of Birmingham. Rushing back to Selma, King appealed to the nation's clergy for a non-violent solution to the crisis. 2 days later, he led them to the foot of the Pettus Bridge in defiance of yet another march ban.
People had come from around the country, clergymen and rabbis, and they were all dressed in...
Outrage turned to action. Immediately, protests sprang up from New York to San Francisco. And at the doorstep of the White House, President Johnson had to act.
Because it's not just Negroes, but really it's all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. And we shall overcome.
Johnson demanded Congress pass voting rights legislation. 2 days later, the ban was lifted. The march from Selma to Montgomery was on.
The shoes in this box I shall always keep among my memoirs because they carried me through the rain and mud on the 50-mile trek to Montgomery. We were walking for the right to vote. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round.
I know that we were doing all that we could do to bring about the right to vote for all the people, not only in Selma, but all over this country, wherever they were denied the right to vote. That was our commitment.
Keep burning, walking, yeah, keep burning, talking, learning, marching up to freedom, yeah.
We walked down that road with that sense of joy. There was no retaliation. There was no sense of dislike. There was a fulfillment of an understanding.
You cannot live in this area, or if you are black or Hispanic, you cannot live in this area. And so the open housing movement came out of the Chicago struggle.
King dramatically kicked off the open housing movement by living in a slum on Chicago's west side.
Okay, I'm back, and I have a whole new group of people that are going to come in. They're going to give us some opinions on what they feel about the riots of today and yesterday, basically. Just give us their viewpoints. Let's start off with you, Gina. What did you feel about what's going on today? Oh, this is Gina Thorne, I'm sorry.
Hi. Well, I was really shocked. I was just terrified, and I cried. I couldn't believe it, the verdict. And because the officer said himself on the stand that they were out of control completely.
Right.
So I couldn't believe it.
You're talking about that one officer that separated himself
yeah,
from the rest,
I'm not sure
right?
what his name was, but that's just alone. Yeah, Xennia. But as far as myself, it was like really scary because I had to stay in the house and, you know, not come out and then go to the store and get some food, and, you know, what's going to happen if I go to the store, because the store, you know, where I live, it was like a fire just down the street. So.
I'm not going to ask you your age because I know that's the forbidden question, but were you around in the, were you born in the 65 riot?
No.
Okay. So this is all new to you. What about you at the end? What are your views, and what do you do in the community? You know, state your occupation, whatever, and what you felt about it.
Federal Express, and my name is Robert, and what I think about the whole situation, I think it could have been done a little bit different as far as not rioting. I think they should have maybe had something else as far as maybe not just going to work for like a week or 2 weeks, and it probably been a different impact, and I think they would took action as the same way they're doing now.
Yeah. You think Bush would have got involved and speeded up the justice system, so to speak, if he would have did that?
It would have affected the whole economy, you know, and he would have had to, with maybe not letting your kids go to school, all of us not going to work, and I think they would have did something about it that way, and then nobody would have been hurt, and there would have been nothing burnt up neither. It would save, you know, lots of pain in any community, you know, not just that community.
But do you think, and here I go getting into it when I said I would, do you think that the liquor stores and stuff like that, I mean, they said it was in 70 liquor stores within like a 3-mile radius. You know, at least, I mean, I know it was bad, but at least that I feel like that was the good that came out of it. Now they do have to rebuild and take an evaluation of what they did have there. You know, more liquor stores were burned down than any other business. You know, and that's just my personal opinion. I just wanted to elaborate on what you said. But we're gonna go to the next person. We'll get back to you. What did you feel? This is Melissa Gustav. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to mention your names. What did you feel?
Well, I was very shocked because before the verdict had come out, you know, sitting around with my friends and stuff, we would talk about it, and being around some young black men. Friends of mine were talking. I mean, they would say, "Oh, they're going to get off. They're going to get off. It's in Simi Valley. They're not fair out there." And I was willing to bet my whole month's salary that no, the evidence is clear. There's a videotape. If anybody in their right mind can look at this videotape and just see that this is wrong, and I thought definitely justice was going to be upheld here. And when I heard the verdict, I nearly broke out in shock, and I was very angry. I was angry myself. And, you know, I thought about the people in the looting and the fires, and I realized that, you know, they were very angry, and we were very angry about that verdict. But all in all the burning, all the fires and everything else is wrong, and I'm glad it's come to a halt.
Yeah, well, I heard some people saying that either way the verdict would have went, this would have happened, that the people were just waiting for it to happen. What do you feel? Do you feel the same way?
No, I don't, because myself, if they were found guilty, which we all know that they should be found guilty, and, you know, been punished for it, I would have been satisfied. You know, if someone has done something wrong and they get punished, that's all you can ask for, is for them to be punished. And with them just getting off, it's like everything was okay. What they did was all right, and it wasn't.
True. That's my opinion. I'm going to go to the next gentleman. How you doing? State your name and what you're doing in the community and what you feel about what happened.
Well, my name is Wyeth Hickerson, and I work at General Motors, and I have encountered run-ins with the LAPD. I was raised in the Valley, and I was, in fact, around during the 65 riots, but I wasn't involved. And I kind of knew that the situation with Rodney King, the police officers were going to get off, because when they moved the trial to Simi Valley, I just knew it was over then.
Right.
And the problem stemmed from Latasha Harlins in the beginning.
Right.
And then it went from there to some man who beat a dog or something, and he got time for that. But the lady that killed Latasha didn't get time. Then they beat Rodney King, and so everybody kind of waited to see what would happen about it. And the verdict was the straw that broke the camel's back, and the riot ensued.
Right. I also viewed the videotape of Rodney King, like everyone in the world, I'm sure, have viewed it. According to the court, going back to what you said, moving the case, the jurors said they actually seen points. If you watch the tape frame by frame, you can see Rodney King resisting. What do you think about that particular statement?
I don't believe he was resisting, because I have been beat by the police also, and what you're doing is you're trying to stop yourself from being hurt too much, and you try to resist. Somebody's giving you an order, you want to obey that order, somebody gives you another order, and you can get confused, and they're hitting you at all times, and it's just a confusing issue. I don't think that he wasn't trying to fight.
I've often been stopped by the cops, and they'll say, one will say, put your hands up, the other one will say, get out of the car.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, this is a very, very interesting topic, and we're going to come back to it, but right now we're going to go and do this. Take a look at this, folks.
We saw what we saw, and what we saw was a crime. No, we will not tolerate the savage beatings of our citizens by a few renegade cops. I do not seek to explain the jury's decision, because frankly, no explanation makes sense. But I do know this: the jury's verdict will never outlive the images of the savage beating, seared forever into our minds and our souls.
Everywhere I've gone in the last 2 hours, people are wildly upset and do not understand what the rational reason is for a sweep of not guilty.
Filmmaker John Singleton, whose movie Boys in the Hood talked about violence in the streets of Los Angeles, reacted this way.
This is a comment on the whole American judicial system. This is a comment on a system that has too many lawyers that are unconcerned with what real law is.
LA's police chief Daryl Gates, whose upcoming retirement was hastened by the King controversy, said tonight, in his opinion, there were no winners.
I don't think anybody has been vindicated at all. I think, once again, what has happened has been tragic in many, many ways. It's affected many lives, and I'm hopeful that we can all move forward from this point and not have to relive this over and over again.
But outside his police headquarters just a short time ago, a group of angry demonstrators, upset at the system of justice, attempted to burn an American flag and shouted down police officers as they reported for duty. Some local precincts said tonight they have been flooded with calls from people who are angry about the verdicts. One policeman said he and his fellow officers are, quote, apprehensive tonight. Police Chief Daryl Gates is expected to step down from duty in June. That's when he's set for his date for his retirement.
We have seen several instances of violence. We have Chopper 2 in the air. If we can go to that shot right now. This is a shot in south central Los Angeles where we have watched just short minutes ago some terrible instances of violence. At least 2 motorists were dragged from their cars, beaten severely. Both of them hit on the head with rocks. One of those people was down for several minutes. We didn't know his condition at all. Finally, he was able to get to his feet and stagger to his car, close the door. We don't know his condition.
This is the aftermath of that, although there are several police cars in the area now, and there weren't before. We're looking at looting now. This is, again, another piece of video that we hope we wouldn't be witnessing right now. Dave Lopez is standing by at the First AME Church right now. You know, the African-American community in Los Angeles is very strong, and this is their big flashpoint for communication. So let's go to the AME Church to talk with Dave Lopez now, where they're holding a vigil.
Yes, Bree, they are going to have a rally for peace is the way they're calling it here. The pastor is about to begin the service. The youth choir behind me now is starting to sing. It is a very packed facility here. I would say the church holds about 1,200, and there must be about an overflow crowd of at least 100 over that. So maybe between 1,250 and 1,300 people are here. They are hoping that the shots that you're now looking at on the other portion of your screen do not continue throughout Southern California tonight. That's what they're here for tonight. They're going to have Mayor Bradley will be here, a number of city councilmen, a number of other top Afro-American politicians are here going to be pleading to the community to please, let's be peaceful about this. Let's vent our anger, but don't vent our anger in a violent way. So what they're doing now is they are getting ready, if you will. They are getting ready to begin this rally. It is a very boisterous crowd. It is an angry crowd, and yet it is a crowd that feels that they're here for a purpose, and that purpose is to send a message to all of Southern California how the Afro-American community feels about this, and they want to do it in a peaceful manner. That will be the tone of this meeting tonight. So as soon as we get more, we of course...
Okay, we're back. I just wanted you guys to check that out. We got the whole group here together now. What we're going to do is just discuss what's going on. and get some views. There is one particular person out of the group that I do want to go to that I didn't get a chance to reflect on, because she viewed along with me, she's my mother, and I was there also, the Detroit riot. And it's the city of Detroit is 97% black and was 97% black at the time. I just want to see if there's a difference between what's going on in that type of environment and what's going on in this environment today. Doris, do you have any?
Yes, I do. I was within the Detroit riots. I was young. I was 21 years old at the time, and I was quite afraid at that time. During this riot, the Rodney King riots, I viewed it on television, and this is the most frightening thing that I have ever witnessed. When I saw them beating the young gentleman in the truck, it was appalling. And at that time, I sat down and I wrote a poem.
Right. Okay, basically, we got the whole form. Does anybody else want to put something in and, you know, I know I chopped you short last time. You want to finish?
Well, simply I was just watching the thing about looting, and I wanted to say that quickly that I think that it's really a wonderful thing that's happened in the long run. If we look at it, that there were people of all nationalities looting, there were people of all nationalities, there were policemen, there were people of all nationalities, there were firemen, there were people of all nationalities that were cleaning up, and I think that that's the thing, that we're together. This was a catalyst to bring us together. We've started talking, and let's not stop.
That's very good, and that's probably one of the most positive things I've heard out of this whole thing. And that's something that I had overlooked, and I'm sure other people had overlooked. Gina and Melissa, you guys are two people that this is your first time going through it, and so that means that, you know, what do you guys feel as far as your friends? Because I'm sure you guys have friends that are Korean, since I was hard hit, Korean and white, and I'm sure that, I mean, what happens, you know, with your friends that are not black now? I mean, are you separated, or what goes on?
Well, I experienced a little something at work. There was another lady who was working with me. She's white. She lived about 20 feet away from a liquor store that got looted and burned down in her area in Panorama City, which isn't too far from where I live. And I noticed a little animosity in her, which at first I was starting to feel a little uneasy being around her. I thought she was kind of like taking it out on me because I was black, and at first people were saying it was a black thing, which really it isn't just a black thing.
It's definitely not a black thing.
But I was feeling a little uncomfortable because of some of the remarks she was saying, but then I didn't really take it into consideration before I really took it to heart that, you know, it was right in her neighborhood. It was just right next door.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd like to say Mr. Hickerson is my husband.
Okay.
And when he was beat by the police, we had a lot of recovering to do from that. And as his wife, to see it again was very, very traumatic for me.
Right.
You know, and him as well.
Right.
And I think being and going through it is to be involved in it and to be a part of it, and that's why we're here, to kind of let people know what we felt.
Do you think that, or this is type of like sort of like a group question, do you guys think that Chief Girl Dates in some way, shape, or form is responsible for the extent of the violence?
I think he overran his time. I think 14 years is too long.
I think that the police were deployed, and he was ready, and I think they were deployed in Parker Center and Beverly Hills and Century City and for the haves, and I think that's why the people are revolting.
Right.
And I wanted to say, like, when my mom, she told me when she was going to the store, these Korean people own it, they wouldn't let her go in the store and buy food at all. They said only, I guess, the Spanish people, because it's Spanish market, so.
Something does have to change. Look here, we got a poem that Doris wrote after all this went down, and it's just something that she was inspired to do after it went down. So we're going to turn our attention to that, basically. Doris, what's the title of the poem?
The title of the poem is I Must Tell Jesus.
Okay. Okay, so that's it. She's going to read the poem. I Must Tell Jesus is the name. Let's listen up.
I must tell Jesus all about Latasha. She was a young, sweet, innocent child. I cannot bear it. I cannot bear it. I cannot bear it. No, not alone. I must tell Jesus all about Jong Sung-do. pulling a trigger with ignorance and fear. I cannot bear it. I cannot bear it. I cannot bear it. No, not alone. I must tell Jesus all about Rodney, how he was beaten so unjustly. He was alone. I cannot bear it. I cannot bear it. I cannot bear it. No, not alone. I must tell Jesus all about the riots, the looting, the burning, the killing. It's wrong. I must tell Jesus all of my troubles. I cannot bear it. No, not alone. I must tell Jesus he is a kind, compassionate friend, and if I but asked him, he will deliver. Make all of our troubles quickly end.
All right. Okay, that was the poem. I enjoyed it, and I think that you put some heart into it.
I wanted to say about the gangs, I'm very glad they're coming together, but I hope they come together and stay together as peace, and knowing that don't go out there as a war.
All right. That's it for today. This is the Donna Thorne special. Thank you, and think about what you heard today. Good night.
That he had with our Harvey Levin. Harvey Levin.
People, I just want to say, you know, can we all get along? Can we get along? Can we stop making it horrible for the older people and the kids? And I mean, we've got enough smog here in Los Angeles. Let alone to deal with the setting these fires and things. It's just not right. It's not right, and it's not gonna change anything. We'll get our justice. They've won the battle, but they haven't won the war. We'll have our day in court, and that's all we want. And just I love, you know, I'm neutral. I love people of color. You know, I'm not like they picking me out to be. We've got to quit. We've got to quit. You know, after all, I mean, I can understand the first upset for the first 2 hours after the verdict, but to keep going on like this, and to see the security guard shot on the ground, it's just not right. It's just not right, because those people will never go home to their families again.